How's it going? And welcome to a new video. Perhaps the last one of 2019. I'm unsure about that, but I'm putting it out there just in case this is the last one. Since it is this time of year, and when I say time of year, I mean the festive time that is the 17th of December, as the making of this video, 2019. And we are cruising headlong into the Christmas holidays. The suburbs will become a hum and hive of festive cheer and the likes. And I figure I might not have time to do a video before the year's out, but I'm trying to do an end of year video. But I thought between now and then, wouldn't it be good if I could do a video that was marginally related to the festive season? Now, when I say marginally related, I was going to do a video about drones. And I thought that would link quite nicely into this time of year because there'll no doubt be people getting them for their Christmas. Now they'll probably fall into two categories there. There will be the type of person who gets a drone just for shits and giggles, who wants to fly and crash into their cat. And then there'll be the other who will actually have maybe an interest in photography or videography and want to use the drone as a tool to further that hobby or indeed career. As I've made a career of it, I thought, well, why don't I make a video? I could make a video about drones and how Mikey flies a drone. Well, that's what I'm going to do. Granted that I am inside, I'm not going to be doing it from inside. I've got a hat on as well for two reasons. One, it's cold, and two, I've got a bad hair day, and it was pointed out to me that I don't really suit a man bun, and I would agree. I would heartily agree. So the hat is firmly on there just because I've just recently came in, and it's quite toasty. Drones and the 16 styles that I would apply in film and TV. Now I say styles, it's just camera movements or drone movements, and they've got a quirky little name or an easy name, or just a made-up name to help you remember what exactly it is. And invariably, it sort of links marginally to what it is so you can remember it. I know I'm waffling now. But I've got 16 moves. That's camera moves, drone moves, not disco moves. I do have moves though. I've got 16 moves to share with you and to help take your drone flying game to a next level. Indeed, if you're starting out, I will be taking you to the first level. If you've been flying a while, then I'm going to take you to a future level, unless you're familiar with all of these moves, in which case we're on the same level. And this video is probably of no interest to you whatsoever. In fact, that's wrong. It might be of interest to you, you just might not learn anything from it. But I'm hoping that you will learn something from it. Even if you do know how to do these maneuvers, perhaps I will give you an additional piece of information that you didn't know before. And that would therefore arm you with said knowledge to increase your own, to become a formidable drone pilot. It's a good word, that, formidable. I like it. That could be today's word. do this in 16 locations around the house. Rather than just to sit here with this cleverly placed logo of my business in the background. Perhaps I should do it around the house. It is lunchtime and I will have to pick my daughter up from school soon, so I should probably crack on with this. Okay, location number 1 would be the utility room. Style number 1, we're going to go with the parallax. The definition of parallax is the effect whereby the position or direction of an object appears to differ when viewed from different positions. Effectively, you're moving the drone with something in the foreground and something in the background. Obviously the background being your subject of interest, and you're allowing something in the foreground just to sort of pass in front of the camera as well, which gives the illusion of the two different speeds, that the foreground subject's moving at one speed and that the background subject's moving at a different speed, and that's all that is. Location number 2, welcome to the kitchen. Sure, you've been here before. Movement number 2 is the tilt down reveal. The tilt down reveal is exactly what that suggests. Your gimbal, your camera underneath the drone, tilts down, and you start at a horizontal position, as in an upward position, and you tilt down to reveal what you're filming. Now you can do this statically, or you can do it whilst moving. There are options there. The drone moves, as does the camera. You can fly in a forward or a reverse or a side position, whatever way you want, but you just use the camera to tilt down onto the subject that you're looking at. Obviously there would be the reverse of that, but movement number 2 in this sequence is the tilt down reveal. Continuing on with that flavour, I think we'll go with movement number 3, the tilt up reveal. I think we'll stay in the kitchen for this one, just because it's much the same as the last one. So the tilt up reveal is the opposite of the tilt down reveal, which is pretty obvious. So the tilt up reveal is always quite good for landscapes, and if you're trying to establish something within the landscape, if you fly backwards while your camera's tilted all the way down and then slowly roll it up, you'll reveal what it is that you're looking at in that really amazing cinematic way. Camera move number 4 would be the coming into shot. As self-explanatory as this is a static maneuver where the drone is in a position, you have the composition set, it's all framed up, and whatever it is you're filming comes into shot. Invariably, it'll be something moving, i.e. a boat, a car, a person, an animal, or whatever. You can actually do this as a moving shot as well, where your subject may be moving at a different speed to you, and it allows them to come into shot and then leave the shot again. If that's your intention, you might want to hold them on shot there, but then that would change your shot into something else, which I'll explain later on. Shot number 5 would be the tracking shot. Now the tracking shot is something that I kind of touched on there a little bit, but is effectively the drone moving whilst filming something that is moving. That's what that is. You are tracking with whatever it is you're filming. Now that could be a train, a car, a person, an animal, whatever it is. If the subject's moving and you want to track with it, then that's what you would use the tracking shot for. You try and keep that in the center of the frame, and as you're moving along with it, it moves as well. You'll find that these are all interchangeable shots, and these are just shots that I use on a regular basis for whatever it is I'm filming. And that's why I picked these 16, because, well, they're more commonly used, depending on what you do, that is. Style number 6 is the satellite view. Oh, I thought we'd try it upside down, but I don't have one of those upside down rigs. Oh. Right, okay. Let's not do that. That's just sore me old neck. Anyway, the satellite view is, well, not everybody calls it that. That's what I call it. That's when the camera is directly above the subject and is looking straight down. Some people call it the bird's eye view. Some people call it the 90-degree view. I call it the satellite view because I quite like that top-down 2D perspective of what it is that you're filming. And that's exactly what that is. It's a satellite view or a bird's eye view of what you're looking down on. It's not a shot I use all the time, but certainly is a shot I use if you're, I mean, I have filmed boats, I have people on rivers and cars, all that kind of thing, and sometimes it's actually quite nice to have that sort of drop down shot so you can see the road or the river snaking its way through the landscape and you're sitting above it. And again, it can be used in conjunction with previous shots, and they're all very interchangeable, but the satellite view is quite a handy one if you want that look down view on everything that you're filming. Welcome to the living room, and indeed my comfortable mustard chair. Shot number 7 is the look up. Most drones, especially if you're a DJI user, I'm not really familiar with any other brands and whether they do this or not, but certainly when the camera angle is sitting horizontal looking straight out, you can actually switch it in these settings to allow it to tilt up a little bit more than its finishing position, allowing you to look up, not too far, otherwise when you're flying you'll see the rotor blades in the video, which you don't want to see. However, having the tilt up ability allows you to fly lower to the ground and look up at something and give that sense of scale, which is something that I love to do because I use that in conjunction with the DJI autonomous mode of tripod mode. Yeah, if you haven't already used it, you should. It's amazing. If you already use it, how good is it? It allows the drone to move slowly and steadily so you can fly just really, really clinically. And if you tilt that camera up, you can fly, you know, 2 or 3 feet off the ground looking up. I've done it with loads of buildings, you know, epic churches and stately homes and manors and castle, and give that sheer sense of scale against the landscape. It's a great one. The look up. Well, yeah, I think I'll just stay here for the next one, actually. I'm quite comfortable. Anyway, shot number 8 is the hard deck. Now the hard deck, or the daisy cutter, a lot of people like to call it that one, or the Superman. I don't know if actually anybody's ever called it like that. But that's basically, you're flying the drone as low to the ground or over something as low as you're willing to go and at speed, or to give the illusion that you're going really, really fast. But I certainly have used it loads of times to show a crop in a field. I've filmed in lavender and heather and oat and barley and rapeseed and all the other kind of stuff, and you fly the drone low and fast over the top of it, and it just gives you that sort of epicness. But then if you combine that with something at the end of the field, perhaps your subject that you're filming is at the other end and you're whizzing over the top of that and you'll shortly arrive at your destination, it gives you that sense of, you know, transition of time where you're moving your story on from A to B. Okay, live from the living room and the Christmas tree. Shot number 8 would be the crane. The crane is to give the same effect as you would if you used the mechanical style crane that you use in productions with the camera attached to it, where it's lifted right up above something and you can look down on whatever it is you're filming and then slowly bring it down. And then normally it comes in a sort of diagonal movement rather than a straight up and down, although that's not to say it can't be used as a straight up and down movement, but traditionally in a sort of diagonal way. The drone can get used in very much the same way and is a great little thing to add into any narrative, whether you're wanting to show the scale of something that your characters have walked into, or indeed the scale of something that they're walking out of. You know, you can start low and finish high. You've got multiple options with that crane use, but again, it's all about slow and concise and controlled movements. Oh, hi. I'm just going to look for some soup, but anyway, you're here. Shot number 10 would be the slider. The slider is exactly how it sounds. You slide from one position to the next, whether that be from a sort of, obviously the camera's the one that's supposed to be doing the movement here, but I thought if I did it sort of nice and slow from one side to the other, you would get the idea of what it is I'm talking about. You maybe use a slider shot in a parallax way, like I mentioned at point 1. However, the slider shot is something you can use with the drone, and it's just very simply that. Slow everything down, whether it be nice and low or whatever, in conjunction with other moves that I've told you about, and just move ever so slightly from left to right. It's just to show a little bit of movement in your piece. It could be what you're filming is static and it needs to be moving thereabouts. So if you move the camera, then it gives that sort of more interested, dynamic look rather than just two people or something stationary just sitting there, you know, because, you know, people get bored quite quickly unless you're moving around. Yeah, I've overestimated the amount of places I can film in the house, so we're back in the kitchen again because I don't really want to film from the bedrooms. That's just weird. And anyway, I'm hungry, so I'm going to make some lunch. However, before I make some lunch, I'm going to give you shot number 11, which is the rise up. Now the rise up is exactly as it sounds. You see, there's a bit of a theme going on here. The rise up is to, well, rise up from the position that you start in and you just go straight up. Now there's multiple uses again for this one, and again there's a theme there with all of these. You could start with your camera straight down, and which is what we learned earlier on, the satellite view, and then you could just keep going up, up, up and up, and it will slowly reveal exactly what it is that you started in. And then if you mix that in with a camera tilt up, you'll see the landscape that you're in. See? Shot number 12 is the orbital. Not to be confused with the physics term, that is. Each of the actual or potential patterns of electron density which may be formed in an atom or molecule by one or more electrons and can be represented as a wave function. But that's not what we're talking about today. No, the orbital that I'm talking about is when your drone orbits around a subject. And it's something that gets used quite a lot actually, because it's something that you want to see on all sides. A building, structure, castle, loch, boats, whatever. And the further you are away from it and you orbit around it, it shows you that scale of how it sits within the landscape. And there is good autonomous features on the DJI drones where it can do it itself, but I would certainly employ that I would certainly promote that you do it yourself, because you want to be able to control your drone at all cost. These autonomous modes are great, but to be honest, I prefer the manual mode because I like to be in control of the drone. Much the same as the difference between driving a manual vehicle and an automatic vehicle. It's fine to drive an automatic vehicle, but you want to be in control of it, just in case. We're back in the dining room for shot number 13, and that is the overpass. The overpass is well, just a cleverly named thing because you switch the words around and you pass over something, which is exactly what you do. You fly towards whatever it is that you're filming and then you fly over it. An overpass, if you will. Normally when you start away and you're flying towards something, I've done this loads of times with sort of big stately homes and castles and such like, when you start further away from it and you see what it is you're filming on the horizon and you get closer and closer and closer, where you can go straight over the top of it and then reveal the landscape to the rear of it as well. Shot number 14 is the establisher. A very, very simple shot, but a very important shot in the grand scheme of things, because you want to establish your landscape wherever it is your filming is taking place. Normally in TV and all narrative-based stories, the drone's really handy to throw it in the air at its maximum altitude to show exactly where you are. If you're doing some sort of story that's based around someone or something, it's always quite nice to start off geographically about where that is. I mean, it could be something big like a river, or the mouth of a river, or a bridge over a river, or something similar to that. But if you can't show the scale or indeed where it sits in the geography of the land that you're filming, then it's quite hard to convey that one, especially when if it's big or it's mega or is very important to your story. So the establishing shot is a really good one and used pretty much in everything that's done. Maybe not necessarily from a drone, but an aerial view of what you're filming is pretty handy. Number 15 is one of my favorites, and it's called the Skywalker. I like this one especially if you've got symmetry either side of you, where you can fly straight up the middle. I have filmed in places where there's walls or hedgerows, bushes, even in a topiary garden where you've got high-sided things and you're flying straight up the middle of it. Now this doesn't necessarily have to be fast, this can be slow and low, which is my favourite sort of method of filming with drones, but to give that sense of movement, much like the hard deck or the daisy cutter, where you're flying low to the ground in a forward-facing manner, you get everything moving quickly underneath you. I quite like everything on the side. It kind of gives you that sort of hemmed-in feeling, not claustrophobic so to speak, but it gives the idea of high-sidedness. And I called it the Skywalker, basically after the X-Wing attack on the Death Star in Star Wars. They drop down into the trenches and you've got those high-sided walls and they're whizzing about fighting TIE fighters and all the right. It's cool. So that manoeuvre, I coined the Skywalker. You can as well. And lastly, we're at the end of my list, so number 16 would be under the table. Oh, wait a minute. Number 16, under the table. It is what it is, and I don't mean actually fly under the table, it's a metaphor. And metaphorical for flying under things, basically. Occasionally I like to fly under bridges, or fly under a structure if it warrants any sort of movement, or actually if it's legally enough or I've been given permission to and it's safe to do so. But I quite like to fly under things. It does kind of come under a couple of things. I suppose if you're flying slow and low to the ground, and then you've got things either side of you as well, but you get something over the top of you. It's a kind of mixture of the hard deck, the Skywalker, and something else, you know, but certainly if you can do it. But it doesn't have to be in a claustrophobic sense. It doesn't have to be flying under something that invariably could destroy your drone. I mean, you're flying under a suspension bridge, you know, you get tons of space left and right, up and down, you know, that still acts the same. It's lovely to fly over things, but sometimes it's quite nice to fly under things as well, especially if you're combining that with other shots. So there you have it, that is my 16 flying modes. There are plenty of other shots, so there are other manoeuvres, but I picked 16 shots that I use on a regular basis and compiled some shots that I have to allow you to see those in action and how I would use them. But certainly the whole point of the video was just to say, listen, if you're getting a drone for your Christmas and you've never had one before, and indeed if you've got a drone and you've been flying for a while, it's all the same as well, you know, practice, practice, practice. And I would argue, as a drone pilot, when I'm working, especially when I'm working on my own, I have to not only have to film whatever it is the narrative is, but I also have to fly a drone at the same time. So it requires a lot of dexterity. So when you're thinking about all these moves and things, remember that a drone pilot, especially a good one, is utilising a lot of skills all at the same time. So basically all I'm saying is that you fly with a bit of due care and attention, and everybody will be fine. And that drone flying is great fun, and that it creates a great dynamic whatever you're doing with it. And drones don't have to be high in the sky. It doesn't need to be all the way up there flying fast and doing fixed wing stuff and aerial acrobatics and all that kind of stuff. You don't need to do that to get a great shot. As I've said before, slow and low creates a great look on camera. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. It was something new for me. It was a little insight to what I do and some of the things that I do when I'm working. Maybe you didn't know they were called that. Maybe you thought they were called something else. Maybe you get a different name for it, you know? I don't know. It's just what I call them, and it's how I remember when I'm on set. Not that anybody in production's ever said, oh, don't forget to include the overhead, the crane, and the Skywalker, because nobody ever does that. Production normally has a list of shots that they want, and they'll just tell you in no uncertain terms what they want. Headbutt that like button if you enjoyed this video. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and I will see you on the next video, whatever that is, because I'm not nearly as organised as I let on to be when it comes to this kind of stuff. But when the ideas come, I will film them, and we'll take it from there. If I don't see you in another video before the end of 2019, have a great Christmas and have a great New Year, whatever it is you're getting up to. And if I do see you in another video, well, I'll give you another rundown at the end of that one. But until then, expect the best, prepare for the worst, and capitalise on what may come.